This is an ingenious mechanism. You can see we start with nothing, and then a white die appears, then it disappears, and a red die appears in its place, then a second die, then they change to white, then a whole bunch of die, and back to zero. This is a piece by Michel Bertrand, who was the third successor to Vichy. Vichy had a piece, The Peasant and the Pig, that was operating here with a peasant had a pig on his lap and he was feeding him a biscuit. When Bertrand, using the Vichy parts, created this piece, works similarly, except instead of feeding the pig, you'll see he'll open the book, and there's a picture of a monkey, and the monkey actually animates as well. He's got a lot of interesting movements, including the laugh with his shoulders going up and down. So let's see. This is Perot Escriven. It's Michel Bertrand, again, in Switzerland, who was a successor to Vichy. It's a Vichy design. It was made by Bertrand using the old Vichy stock. It's unique in a couple of aspects. Number one, all of the mechanism for him is inside the body. This is an oil lamp we just fill with oil, which will light, and you'll see him writing his love letter. I don't read or speak French, so I don't know what it says, but I understand it's a love letter. He'll start to doze off, and as he does, the light will go down. He'll suddenly wake up. He'll reach over and turn the lamp so it'll go back up. So let's fire him up here. And this is an active magician's prop. So Bontemps was a taxidermist in France, and he made all these. He made bird cages with 1, 2, 3, sometimes 4 birds, and he also made these tableaus that were under a dome, and it would have maybe two birds chirping and another one flying from branch to branch, which was a bird on an armature, and it would go in and out. And then there would be a waterfall that was done by a piece of prism glass that, as it turned, it gave the illusion of a waterfall and then a fake water. And this should... this is another Matt Smith piece, just we can close in on that, but every time he hits this this little thing, see, it feeds him a one of these little balls that he will then swallow, and then it goes into his stomach, and that's what borborygmus means. It's a turning or churning of your stomach. Again, just the guy's got such a great sense of humor. So whenever he's hungry, he hits the lever, and down comes the little metal steel ball. He swallows it, and it goes into his belly. There we go. And then gets recycled underneath. This is another R&D. As it goes, it will walk like the Peacock, and then this will come down, and there's a little rubber egg. And so he'll stop and lay an egg, or actually, she'll stop to lay an egg. But that's another in the line of the relais de camp animals. We've got a pig and a bear and some other things. This is another example of R&D related to comp. They did a lot of different animals. Wheels here, paper mache. It's called a knotter because it moves its head, and it'll bark. Much easier to take care of than a live one.
Then go in. Now, Mike, tell us about this one.
Yeah, this one is a contemporary automaton, and this is a couple principles. It's a magic principle called Pepper's Ghost. It's the same principle that they use in the Haunted Mansion down in Disney World, and that is that you're not actually seeing the dragon. The dragon is down, and I'll tilt it forward in just a second, but it's being reflected on the back, and that's what you're seeing. The fire is done by a rotating spool, and it turns the light on. There's a magnetic switch on the back. As the magnet comes around, it turns on the light, and because it's there's a roll moving, it gives the illusion of shooting fire. But the dragon is all made out of paper. The artisan crafted it and painted it by hand. And I'm going to tilt it forward in just a second so you can see that the dragon is actually down on the bottom.
Does that read?
Oh, yeah. And he's being reflected on the back. And then the mechanism to, you see here, the light is battery operated, which is what makes the fire. And when this little reed switch, which you can't see, I'd have to take the front off. But see the little magnet here, as it comes around here, it acts as a on-off. And that's what turns. Very clever.
And this one, the dragon actually extends its neck and opens its mouth, and the fire comes out.
And that's just an example of taking a ordinary, everyday object such as just paper, folding it around a mechanism to make the neck come in and out and the mouth open, and then every bit of the design is hand painted. Beautiful. This is a piece by Matt Smith, who I just love. He's got an imagination. I mean, all of his pieces are just hilarious. but you can see how all these are hand cut. He makes I call it a differential, but what it does is it converts this circular motion to motion counterclockwise. This is a myoclonic goat. He even puts his little explanation on there on what it is. But the goat, you can see this is a box of dynamite. Myoclonic goats, they're called fainting goats, and when there's a loud noise, they just faint. That's what they do. So he'll be feeding out of the dynamite box until one of the sticks blows, and then he faints. And then he repeats. I just love his sense of humor. But you see, built into the the use of the cams and the levers, you get that dynamite blowing, which is actually the lever coming off of the cam. This is a lesser known person. I don't really know much about him. Farkas, Farkas. This is a smoker that you would put a cigarette in here. Actually, there's one in there. Cigarette goes in here, like so. Then this just to cover it when it goes out, or to put it out. There's a bellows inside. It'll draw the smoke in. He'll put we call it a hookah, they call it a narghile. He would smoke and then blow out smoke rings. So the movement on this, this is a German. It's a grease bomb. It has a distinctive key, the ones with the birds on it. He's in the Black Forest. But they make these, I think this bird box is about the 30s, 1930 or so. The filigree is distinctive to him, but you can find these made out of mother of pearl. You can find some made out of silver. You can find some gold over silver, cloisonné. The bird is made out of brass, and all the movement, you see how small it is, and then real feathers glued on top. This one is unique because it takes 50 turns to go through the whole thing. You see all the gears. It really takes an engineer to figure all these things out, because every movement has to be translated from a cam or a lever or a wire into the motions.
So cool.
Yep, the balls are here. Does he need a ball?
Well, that arm isn't coming down. Hold on.
Should we cut? No.
Yep. Okay. No, keep rolling.
See if there's a
There it is. It's not coming down.
Come on. Yeah. Okay. It's not picking up. Hold on. Let's try another ball here.
I know it's a magnet. Okay. Here's that ball.
It's the prestige.
It's the prestige.
You know, I think this was the right ball. Isn't that what's in his mouth?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. Okay.
Okay. Pick it up. All right. Come on. See, the thing's supposed to be pulling this magnet away.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't look like it's pulling it away.
Yep.
Should we cut?
Well, guess cut, and let's just do stills of this one.
Yep.
Okay. All right. No problem.
This is another example from the R&D line. Peacock, they made all kinds of animals. Usually they would walk or move in some fashion. These are very collectible because there are very few of them still in existence, and this one is in very good shape. I think Scott did some work on it. It's a cartouche body, real feathers, metal action, and we'll just wind it up here. He may walk off the table, but we'll see. Now, there's a Japanese company called Alps who, just after the war, made these in tin, all tin. I have an example of that. This is one of my favorite pieces. Just I love the fanning of the tail there. This is similar to the Peacock that was made by R&D. It's all made out of tin. And just after the war, there was a push to buy American, and the International Country of Origin Agreement was passed. So in Japan, they changed the name of one of their cities to USA, USA, so it would be marked made in USA. This one isn't one of those, but that was just interesting too. Now this one is actually a toy. This is different than several of them in that it's all paper mache. There's a Perot sticking out his tongue at the moon. This is the theme, Perot Serenading the Moon, was actually a very popular theme. All of the manufacturers back in Paris would make a similar piece. I don't know who the manufacturer of this is, neither did the person I bought it from. I have another piece that's a Lambert, and you can see the difference in them, but this one's got a good mechanism and a good walk in the eye of the moon. Should be moving too. In the mouth. There he goes. This is a Falibois. This is also mid 1800s. Falibois did most of his pieces were monkeys for reasons unknown. He did magicians. He did harpsichord players. The only other Falibois pieces that I have seen that weren't monkeys were acrobats. Some where the acrobats were walking on the tight wire, but even in those, the musicians were monkeys. So I don't know. He had a thing about monkeys. And again, the dome is all hand blown. This, I believe, is walnut, and it's all This is another piece that combines several art forms. It's obviously a hand-carved wooden automaton. These two figures are talking to each other. That's why it's called a private conversation. But the artisan here is also an electronic engineer, and so he has this is electric. It's got the electronics in the back, and the two figures are talking to each other. And if you put something in front of the beam here, they'll stop and look at you. So if you were to lean down and to listen to what they're saying, they'll stop and turn and look at you. So let's run that. So they're having this private conversation, and then when you leave, they go back to talking to themselves. I don't know if you can see here on the back, just sort of as his own idea. It says blah, blah, blah on the back, and it says blather, blather, blather. That's what the other one is. And the artisans who make these things always put in their sort of little personalized things. Just we sometimes call them Easter eggs because you got to look for them. So that is a private conversation. This is a piece by a contemporary artisan who really is an artist. Makes all of this essentially from scratch. The tree is paper mache. I don't know what to use for the lichen and the moss on here. He actually carved the face and then poured it. That's bisque. There's a little copper pot here that's filled with bubble liquid. She'll dip the wand in it, hold it up, and then shake it off, and then hold it up, and she'll actually blow bubbles through it. There's a bellows inside that when it gets to the right point, it'll force air out there. Also, he built in the music box. This mushroom is what actually winds the music box. So. See, at this point, there's actually air coming out that would blow the bubbles. She dips back into the bubble stuff. And then she'll shake the excess water from it. See. Now you can actually hear the bellows. Feet move. And Anatoly, who made this, these are one-offs. In other words, this is the only Rosalinda in a tree. He's made another Rosalinda that's owned by another collector that looks slightly different, but these are all one-offs.
Oh wow, it's full of snowbanks.
This is a Throat, and this is the style that they, in the early 1850s, 1860s, were all done under a dome. It's a unique wine, which unique about this piece is he's small and the workings are actually in the body. There is the music box and some of the cams are in there, but everything else is in the body here. There are two ways of operating this. First is winding the key, which will move the figure. And this is how they used to wind the music boxes. By pulling this, it actually would wind the box instead of with a key. So let's see if we can get,
Good.
if you'll pull the stops out there just gently. I think one of them is the music. There we go. Another example of the magician with two cups, the old cups and balls, believed to be the oldest magic trick around. There's some cartouches in Egypt that seem to indicate that magicians did the cups and balls back 6,000 years ago. Everything's original, costume, everything. Glass is original. The domes, they're almost impossible to replace. They're hand blown. You just can't find them anywhere. All right. This is a German bird cage. They're fairly modern. Real feathers. Its chirping uses a bellows that opens and closes the old fashioned bird whistlers, and that's what makes them work. And they made them. There's three birds. So that one's got one bird, different maker. These are fairly common now. And these also, you can set the bird chirping so that he'll either do it intermittently, he'll do it continuously, or he'll do it. And they make one model, different manufacturers, with an actual birdcage stand. They hang it up in the living rooms or wherever and set it on intermittent, and it'll chirp on and off as it wants to. Then I'll leave him up there and let him chirp down. This is another Pierre Mayer piece. We have a mini. It's the same thing. This is actually a recreation of a magician. Her name is Valerie, and she does a quick change act. You can see, let's see if this one does it. Yeah. She's in a black dress, and hanging up here is the red dress. When the parasol comes down, she's wearing the red dress. It goes back up. She's wearing and the black one is back over there. And this is that was her act. So Pierre, let's see if we can get it to come down further. Yeah, that should come down that way. Again, another clever piece. Paul Spooner is a guy who he does a lot of Anubis, who was the Egyptian god of the dead. They just funny. Anubis doing sit-ups. I've got one with Anubis doing push-ups. And this was actually the symbol of one of the modern stores that sold in London and through the internet. They just recently went out of business. This is another example of a Vichy piece, although Lambert and several others also made a similar one. And this was part of the litigation. This piece is in need of restoration for, I believe, his tongue should be trying to taste the biscuit. And of course, the peasant is laughing at the pig for what he's doing. And the tongue of the pig would be coming in and out like he's licking the biscuit. And then subsequent to this, when Bertrand bought the remaining stock of Vichy and in mid-20th century, created a similar model called Ernest the Painter, where same setup. Ernest is drawing a monkey in a book, and when the book opens, the monkey animates. This is another Vichy piece. This one was actually smuggled out of France in World War II and hidden away in a warehouse in the States for almost 50 years till it was discovered by a couple who owned it before I did. I bought it at auction, actually from them. The other thing that's unusual about this is it has two tunes. I think it's one of only two pieces that Vichy made that had two tunes. This is a piece from actually 1983. In England, an artist actually hand carved all this. These are woodcarver's tools that he's made there. You can see the detail in the face and the hands, and it's got a cute movement to it. The other thing that's interesting about this piece is you see the movement here and how through the gears and levers he's able to transfer the circular motion into the motion of the plane here. The other thing about automata is that unless you try to make one, is sometimes what appears to be the motivating action is actually a reaction. So for instance, if you see this arm going back, it's not the arm really pulling back the plane is activated here, and as it goes back it looks like he's pulling with his right arm. This is a Zadenka from Switzerland, and she makes these magician figures. You can see the cards changing on the table. She uses old stock. In other words, she uses old dolls' heads and makes these magical vignettes. So we have the card disappearing. Makes one with the magician's head disappears and appears inside a die.